Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 94 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or smash that like button, as it would really help us out. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer them as much as we can. Now it's time to introduce everyone from the team. Okay, Nate, you can quit that out now.
Good intro there, Rowdy. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, we've been preparing this the entire week. So Mike is unfortunately not here. He's apparently celebrating his birthday together with people that are, well, likely more important than us. So the real host of the show will not be here today. It will be me who is the real host of the show. So this is going to be great.
It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to a proper Rowdy cast here.
Yeah, a proper Rowdy cast. Hold on to your horses. So first up, last week he was immortalized by Dr. Disrespect. Today he is hot news in Pew News, the second best podcast on the interwebs. Of course, I'm talking about Nathie.
You know, it's a huge honor to be featured on Pew News.
I did not know this.
First time ever.
What happened? You got into PewDiePie's rollcast, did you?
Yeah,
yeah, Nate, explain it once again. What happened?
Okay, listen. So I was at E3 and I wanted to take a photo with Dr. Disrespect. I was wearing a Tesla shirt, so he denied me by saying not with that shirt. And then, that broke the news basically. And now this week, PewDiePie covered it in the Pew News. So now I'm even more famous than before. But seriously, it's getting better and better. Like this was just the best thing I could go for, instead of getting just a photo.
Are you still hoping to get on the national news with it as well, or?
That would be the next step. So hopefully.
I think it's isn't this really? Do you look at your Tesla shirt now and you go I need to frame this?
No. But I was maybe someone is interested in this shirt now, because it's kind of like a meme. But the weird thing is, this is my first meme ever. I never became a meme, but now, and since PewDiePie covered it, even my family started to message me hey, we saw this video, at PewDiePie, and you're in there. I'm like, oh no, now we're getting into the mainstream audience.
Yeah. People on Twitter should now start making captions with your face and not with that shirt, or something funny. Yeah. I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah.
So next up, I've always wondered what happened to number 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I'm guessing they are working behind the scenes, ensuring nothing goes wrong in the live stream of who else than Syntalk 5.
I actually read your notes and I was like, I have no idea what he means. Now I get it. Yeah. Actually,
how you been, mate?
Good. Yeah, good. I learned a valuable scientific lesson this week, which I think you'll appreciate. So, a couple of weeks ago, we adopted a crab by accident from the beach, and then my wife, who's the tree hugger sort, was like, okay, we're gonna get an aquarium, and I'm like, we could just take him back to the beach, and she's like, no, and so we got an aquarium. We got this little crab. He was tiny, like your pinky nail thumbnail, like a tiny little dude, and we got him this little terrarium or whatever, and got some sand from the beach, and literally she took 2 half-hour trips to go get seawater to come back and fill the tank. I'm like, you could have just brought him back to the beach, but no, we decided to imprison this poor little fellow, and I learned how badass crabs are. Crabs are incredibly, incredibly badass. We had for the kids some sea monkeys. I don't know if you guys know what that is. They're the ones that we got were called aqua dragons. These chilled out little, almost look like seahorses that fly around in the water. And we decided, we're like, okay, this would be more hospitable if we put them in the tank with the crab. And unfortunately, crabs are killing machines, and I didn't know this. And my God, within 30 seconds, all 4 of the aqua dragons were dead. So I can tell you one thing though. I got a big fright because obviously my little girl is like big attached to this little crab now. It's like we call him Mr. Crab. He doesn't have a proper name. He's just Mr. Crab, and he loves listening to Crab Rave. But this little guy, once I went down in the morning and I was like, oh shit, and I see a dead crab skeleton, and I'm like, oh god, he's dead. Little did I know that crabs have exoskeletons, and he had only moved into a bigger form. He has since shed 2 exoskeletons, and he has tripled his size, and now he's trying to escape the tank. This guy is like, he looks you in the eyes with a steely look, like he's gonna be like Rowdy. He's gonna escape from jail and feck all of us up. I can tell you, crabs are badass. So that's my message of the week: is crabs are feckin' lethal, badass killing machines.
Before you know it transforms into a head crab and it jumps onto you and sucks your brains out.
Thank you. Yeah, that's gonna help me sleep at night, Nathie. Yeah, cheers.
Great, yeah, thanks for that. So Nathie got embarrassed live on stream, and Zim has crabs. Okay.
That's a summary of this introduction. Thank you. Yeah.
A great start. And then last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual. Oh wait, I should have added that. I'm gonna keep on making that joke.
I know.
So yeah, we got a busy show for everyone out there. We are going to be talking about the Harry Potter Wizards Unite. We're gonna give our impressions of the live stream of the Vive Cosmos, even though we probably won't be talking that much about it. And we'll also be talking about a little bit of hands-on on Boneworks, and of course, much, much more. But let's start, as always, with the highlights of this week. And I'm giving the table to Nathie.
Okay, I just came back from Los Angeles, so I kind of need to think about what I actually did and what I played. So the last thing I played was The Walking Dead. Once again at Survios, their office. They invited me over. Funny enough, Netflix was also there. I don't know what they were doing, but yeah, maybe they're shooting something
about raw data or something.
I don't know. I have no idea. Super secret. Anyways, I was there with my own Netflix show to check out the Walking Dead game. And so I did a video there with one of the developers talking about what they have been working on. And it's super cool that that AMC is for the first time like on board with making a VR game, because they have been making so many titles before, but never something in virtual reality, right?
Yeah.
And so I played it, and it's a solid demo that they have. You play as Rick Grimes, and you can decide what difficulty you want to go for. You have like I think 4 difficulties from super noob to super pro.
Wait, do the difficulties have like names of like, because that would be cool if like, you know, the lowest difficulty is like, I don't know, like Carl, and then you got like I don't know, like Rick Grimes, and then like Michonne, and like go like up the ladder and stuff like that.
I'm sure they have all names, but in this demo I could only pick one difficulty. But this system they have, this new gameplay system, in where you can use a knife. You can really stick it into a zombie and then pull it out, and you feel it, but also grab a zombie by its neck and, you know, finish them off. It's super satisfying. It's great. But this VR game they've been working on, it's a survival title. Obviously, it's The Walking Dead, and you can play it single player or with friends. It has a co-op too. It follows the storyline of the character you play, and you get to, you know, wield all kinds of famous weapons, of course, from the series. But it's really a part of the Walking Dead series. It's not just an alternative storyline. No, you really go to, I think in the demo you go to Alexandria, and it kind of looks like it. And you kind of get into the vibes. If you watched it, of course. If you never watched it, you're like, what the heck is he talking about? But this melee system they have is so nice. Also, you need to be very careful with the ammunition you have. You constantly need to loot in like these creepy supermarkets and hear all these zombies running around, and it's creepy. It's really creepy. It has an arcadey feel to it, but it's a nice. I think it's going to be a nice game.
So I was wondering, because if you're like a fan of the series, like the zombies are only like one threat throughout the entire series. The bigger threat is actually that, you know, you're locked in with like people, and
Oh,
people
yeah,
can be often worse. Did you see like anything of that in the game as well, like hostile groups?
No, but that would be interesting. I'm curious if they have been playing around with that. I hope so, because it's a big part, of course, of The Walking Dead. Who can you trust and who you can't trust? I don't think the game is really surrounded by you talking to characters and having to make the right decision to ask them something that you want to know, or it's not really about dialogue or where you can change the story. I think it's kind of like on rails, but I don't know. I played the demo, so I can't really say. But if they don't have that in there, it would be a missed opportunity, I would say.
And did you have the indication that there was a storyline underlying in the demo itself?
Oh yeah. So in this demo, you had to actually scavenge some items, and then in the end escape. So I think every mission has its own like goal, and hopefully Survios is able to keep that spiced up and interesting along the way. But it's cool that you can play as Mashan, as Rick Grimes. So in the end, if you play co-op, and I think this game is gonna shine in co-op, you can play as all these famous characters together. I feel like this single player is fun. But come on, man! Like, it's The Walking Dead. You want to play this with friends. Yeah. That's the way.
Was there any indication of like voiceovers in that? Because I would have thought that like if you're playing a particular character, do you hear yourself?
Yeah. You actually talk and you have a full body. So when you look down, you're really Rick Grimes. And you have his, revolver, but it's funny that you can use weapons from other characters too. So it's like Rick Grimes with Negan his bat. It's like the weirdest combo ever, but it works. And you can really swing the bat with two hands, and it feels heavy. You can. It's so satisfying. Finishing up the zombies is great. It really is.
It's especially nice to see that like with every like VR game that they're making, it's like they're adding something new to like the formula, also with this system of like adding weight to weapons and like getting like sticking weapons into zombies. Like I can't wait up until like other developers kind of like sneak into that as well and start doing those kind of things.
Well, the best thing of all is that at the start you find a machete and you can turn it around, so you can just have it like this. So you grab the zombie and then it's like, so you can really spin it around too and use it in different ways.
So you mean you can actually like invert the blade and put it along your arm, just for
it's
audio
like a
listeners.
CS:GO swifty swoop move where you can change your knife in different positions. But there are weapons everywhere, and there are things in the world that you can use, like dynamite or. It's as I said last week, it's an arcadey game, but I think as a co-op, we should be very happy this is around because we need more co-op.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Sim?
Me. So I finally got. We highlighted a game a couple of weeks ago now, probably a fortnight, which I thought looked a lot like The Invisible Hours, and it was presented by Sci-Fi. It's called 1111, where you play this kind of on this basically alien planet, Earth-like you could call it. I don't know why they called it an island world. I guess it was way more water than Earth's got. But it's basically like time's ticking down, and you run, one storyline, you run another storyline, and you see them intermix. Not as dramatically as was portrayed in The Invisible Hours, which is like one of my favorite VR games of all time. But it's still up there. It really had vibes of like The Great Sea, which is kind of a filmic short. If anyone hasn't played that yet, I think that lasted maybe 30, 40 minutes tops. It was really short, but really polished and really showed like what story in VR could be. And this is a bit like that. So you can free roam, or you can follow a character, or you can actually go first person and walk around the world, which I thought was pretty cool. Or enter goddess mode and kind of like look down on everything and navigate easily that way throughout the map. So
and all of these different modes, did you have to use them throughout the game, or were they just optional?
No, they're just optional. So you're not the only thing you're forced. They do force you a little bit. You can't just like skip to the end. So like in The Invisible Hours, the game was chunked into kind of 3 or 4 acts. I can't remember exactly how many acts. And then this game is you start off on one fixed character, and it kind of tutorializes you at that time. It teaches you how to move the camera around, how to swap between things, how to free walk, all that. And you see that straight through, and then you can just hop between characters. And there's one character they save for the very end, and it's kind of the whole. Let's say it's the surprise of the game.
I played it too.
You did as well.
It's amazing how they do it. Yeah.
Well, the thing I liked was, although it didn't resonate with me as well as those other two games that I mentioned, like I would have put Invisible Hours first and Great Sea second and this third. It's still a game that like is very high on my consider rating. It's because it's got a lot of really good things, like the visuals, the characters themselves are quite different, and actually the world they build out in. I really wanted to spend more time in it. And the other thing that really popped for me was just the intro trailer. There's this really cool cinematic at the beginning that like wraps right around you like this long, wide bit of fabric, almost like tails like you would have had etched on the cave wall. And it just works really, really well, and it's pretty impressive. So if anyone's looking for a kind of a nice single-player game, then I think that's a pretty decent one. It took me 2 hours to get through it. Most people are quoting 90 minutes.
To ask. Yeah.
Did you play it right the way through, or did you just dip your toes in it?
No, I just dipped my toes in it. The game that I played all the way through was indeed the Invisible Hours.
Yeah. Oh, that game. One. And you got to the hotel room in that?
Yeah, I did everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because the secrets in that are like amazing.
Yeah. So when we're going to the chat, a lot of people have been playing games as well, of course. We have Flippo Side who played Carnage VR. VR process, Trevor saves the universe. I was like Trevor from GTA, but it's Trover. And Nano played Onward. Jeremy played one of Rowdy's favorites, Star Shelter.
Very nice.
Classic, game. Right? Classic. And they've been updating it too.
Have you tried that by now already, Sim? Since you've been saying it for a while that you want to check that one out. Star Shelter. It's the one like that I always say, like it's a little bit like Subnautica in space.
I don't think I've seen the updates to it. So I had played it originally, but I don't think it was as fleshed out as you were saying. No, not recently. Yeah.
And then we have Buck who played Audica, Firewall 0 Hour, Assetto Corsa, Contractors with Zim, and Vato played Vader Immortal, and the rest of the week he's preparing for Snowdon Climb. Snowdon Climb? I don't know. Good luck.
I was going to say, that sounds like Ed Snowden is going to go climb Mount Everest or something. judging by the recent deaths on Everest.
I have no idea.
I would recommend.
But have fun. Have
something
fun.
Else. Sounds like a good cast of things. Anyway, Star Shelter, I'll put it on my to-do list.
Yeah, Rowdy. You should. It's a great title. I haven't tried it in a while myself actually either, so maybe I should dive back in, and especially if people are still playing it, there must be a lot of stuff that has been added still. So for myself, I played some Pavlov and some Contractors, but the thing I wanted to highlight this week was actually not my highlight, but it's my girlfriend's highlight. She is a volunteer in the humanitarian sector, and in the past week she's been to a convention in Brussels, and you guys know she's not that big into virtual reality, and it's mainly because she's not really a gamer. But she came back and she was like absolutely thrilled because she had a VR experience there as well. And in total, she had 2 experiences actually. So the experience that she first had was that she was actually in Sudan with some kind of Italian NGO. And it was a 50-minute story that was going through the rural communities of Sudan. They were showing what the NGO was doing there, for what kind of humanitarian work, how they were helping the children, who they were providing healthcare to. And the experience was really made in a way that she felt like she was part of that NGO team. She was absolutely flabbergasted by that. Like she really was like, I think she even applied for a position there that she might later go and do. So that was one of the experiences, and the second one was a 5-minute story of a young African girl who lived in a rural community in Africa, and this experience really highlighted like the struggles and what she had to go through on a very, very personal level. And there were a lot of high profile people that actually had a lot of money that also tried this, and then they really felt connected to her afterwards, and they also pledged their support. And I thought that was interesting to see VR being used in this setting as well, because it's like more of like a means of making people aware of certain issues that might seem like they're very far away, but by putting it into a VR experience, they can be brought like very close and very personal. So I thought that was a great way of using virtual reality as well, beyond like the things that we usually talk about.
My number one frustration with that, I would say, is the accessibility of that content is usually limited to the show. and you like getting a copy of it, it usually either lags and is available on Oculus Home sometime later, or is never available again. Like there was a game, kind of an app that that showed kind of rape victims, and I couldn't finish it. It was the first VR title I ever couldn't finish, and that was at OC4. And I went through it, and I was just like, it wasn't like super amazing VR wise, but it was just be able to see a person standing in front of you telling their tale, and the kind of proximity of that. So I totally echo what you're saying about the power of that as a medium, not only for education.
We'll talk about that a little bit later as well, because it is an interesting topic just in general. But I think for a show floor, this is because they had a lot of Oculus Go that they used. There were because I took like a picture. There was like 12 of them that were just laying on the table. Yeah. So they were really. I think it is a great way because these people, they have already a hard time getting funding for their projects because it often feels like it's like such a far of my bad show, it doesn't really happen like anywhere near, so a lot of people are not interested. But when you can put them into a position like that, you get that emotional trigger often, and you get people to like support your cause. So I think that is a great use of VR, of like making people aware of like the issues that are happening around you, even though they might not seem that close.
Yeah, actually, for anyone who's looking for a similar experience, there's some BBC offerings that are available for free. There was one in particular about a boat crossing. I don't remember what country's citizens were refugees, but there's a couple of refugee ones that are really worth doing, and they imbue you with emotion. That going into it, you think, I've got a heavy shield, like, that's not going to make a dent. And then it gets in you, and you're like, oh shit! Like it puts you in that spot of being in the boat. And maybe the boat sinking, or you having some trouble on the way.
Yeah, it's called We Wait.
We Wait is that's an excellent one. Exactly. There's another one as well. There's a second one. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, very interesting.
Cool.
All right. Now, before we get into quick news, this week I want to say a thank you to the sponsor of this episode of the FReality Podcast, which is CodeSync with the latest title, Shadowpoint. So Shadowpoint is a mysterious story-driven puzzle game where you take the role of Alex Burkett, trying to uncover the mystery of a missing schoolgirl, Lorna McCabe, who vanished from Shadowpoint Observatory roughly 12 years ago. Now, guided by Edgar Mansfield, who is narrated by the one and only Sir Patrick Stewart, you will have to solve mind-bending puzzles to uncover the truth. So if you want to, go and check out Shadowpoint. It's available now on the Oculus Rift and Oculus Quest, and there's a link to it in the description below.
All right. God. I have to say, I've been trying my level best to beat the pendulum level. I went back and I was like, oh God, there's more than one pendulum. There's like 20 pendulums. And I'm like trying to race Mike to beat it. I don't know if he's tried it again yet, but now that I've got a week spare and he can't say anything because he's not here today, it gives me an extra week. So I'm gonna have to use it.
Have you beaten it though?
No, it's freaking hard. Oh my God! Like the first pendulum is kind of tough enough, and then I managed to screw up the level, so I teleported through a wall where I shouldn't have. And then I'm like looking at like 6 other pendulums. I'm like, oh, jeez, I didn't know it was gonna be this bad. But looking forward to finishing it finally.
Let's say if Mike is gonna win from you, and you really want to, do your last trick.
How many headsets are you gonna eat?
then you know what you should do. You should like share a save game with someone else and be like, hey, Mike, I just finished it. I was so fast. Suddenly I got it all. There you go.
That won't work for me, unfortunately. All my stuff is live, so he'll be able to look back and be like, hang on a second. Where's all this time? Anyway.
All right, so let's jump into the quick news of this week. So first up is Vader Immortal. So Star Wars Vader Immortal Episode 1 has already arrived on the Oculus Quest last month as a launch title. We all played it. Now they have also launched it on the Rift and the Rift S, and the same price, $9.99, and it also supports cross-buy, which means that if you already own it on the Quest, you'll be able to download it on the Rift or the Rift S for free. And I think all of us actually agree that it is a great title, and with the graphical power behind the PC, you get all those pretty visuals, so it will likely be an even better experience. I haven't tried it yet myself, though. I don't know if any of you already booted it up.
On PC,
I saw the Twitter post from Mike, and it's impressive, but I haven't really played it myself.
Yeah, I like that he did the side-by-side. For anyone who doesn't already follow Mike in particular on Twitter, he does these nice side-by-sides and things like that, and I found it really interesting to see, particularly the lighting. The lighting is what stood out to me
the lighting.
in terms of the difference. And to be honest, what I'm really looking forward to trying I am purposefully delaying, but I want to try it with my own headphones as opposed to the onboard rail audio that I did it when I used Quest, because again, lightsaber buzz, in that volumetric space, definitely want to see more of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, then also this week, Twisted Pixel Games, which are the developers behind Defector, announced that the game would finally launch on Rift on the 11th of July, which is actually not that far away, for $19.99. And they also mentioned, and I quote, it contains branching gameplay so that the outcome of each mission is determined by your choices and actions. This single-player adventure is much more driven by spectacle and story. Every level in Defector has optional objectives. Complete enough of them, and you'll earn some really cool unlocks. Some will even change the visuals of the game.
Okay.
Which I thought is a
finally
pretty unique thing in virtual reality, to have branching storyline and also like unlocks that actually do something.
They definitely had enough time to polish this one. I feel like this game has been put in the fridge for so long. It was supposed to come out on the Oculus Rift CV1, because last year I played it at E3. I felt like it was about to come out back then.
I think we've all had this title quite high up in our high expectations list already for quite a while, right?
I think they're kind of screwed. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I saw Defector's trailer, and then I got to play Blood and Truth. It's like I now I'm gonna have to play Defector after playing Blood and Truth. I kind of think they're screwed. I kind of think they're not going to be able to reach that level. Well, let's see. I don't know. I don't
know. Like I was like, I love Blood and Truth, but at a certain point I was thinking it would be cool if there was like, a branching storyline that, the ending would be different in certain kind of ways.
Am I giving anything away? It is. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's different. You don't. Anyway, I will save it, but the ending is not always the same.
What do you mean, Blood and Truth or Defector?
Blood and Truth, and it's based on your actions.
But
it's not always the same.
That's actually a motivational thing you're telling here, because that means that you can play it in a more careful way. Like, oh, what could this mean if I do this now?
Now, I'm not saying that there are 7 different endings. But there are multiple endings, and I will say nothing more. So anyway.
Okay, I didn't know that. Yep. I didn't know that. Interesting.
But it's great. It's great because then, like, when you don't know it, and then it just like you come to learn it, you're like, now I gotta go play it again.
I need to play it all again now.
Yeah. I learned that with the original Deus Ex. Like I beat it, and they're like, there's multiple endings, dude.
But it's weird. Man. Like Defector and Blood and Truth are kind of the same ballpark.
That's what I was saying. And they're very similar. Very similar.
Before, like when I played Defector the first time, there was no Blood and Truth at all. There was just this, London heist demo. That's it. But I played it. It was fun. But I hope it hasn't been laying around for too long. That's all I'm like worried about.
Interestingly, in the blog post itself, they also commented on why they went with a VR game and not just a regular pancake game. And they responded this to it. There's no way that a flat medium could convey the insanity of grabbing the wheel of a sports car and driving it out of a plane 30,000 feet in the sky. It's both ridiculous and awesome, something we could never do in real life, and an experience that makes VR exhilarating.
Yeah, well, anyone who's played I Expect You to Die's first level is going to really appreciate that. Because did anyone else get blue balls over the fact that you're like, I get to drive out, and then it fades to black? It's like, what? Come on, guys.
This title is freaking insane. When I played that demo, I jumped out of a plane. I was like using this, what was it, like parachute?
Paraglider?
And then there was another plane, and I slammed the door open, and then I shot some guys, and then I got through the other door again and jumped out again. It is like, it's not as open as it sounds, but it's kind of scripted in some ways. But sometimes you have the option to, hey, should I just jump out of the plane now, or should I drive a car and get out of the plane? So there are some.
But that's where I wonder if it's got a kind of a differentiation vector that's going to make it maybe a better experience than Blood and Truth in some respects, because there are things like Blood and Truth is very on rails, in my opinion. Like there's a lot of
it is on rails,
segments
literally on rails.
Literally, like
it is.
Now in Defector, you can just run around and use the thumbsticks to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
just imagining a video that Viper or someone's gonna put together. He just ducks down and hits the guy in the balls twice. I mean that's gonna happen, but you can do that.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
That's part of VR as well. So next up is Penn and Teller VR. Now Gearbox Software announced an upcoming game from the magic comedy duo Penn and Teller called, hold your horses
I
now,
love this.
Penn and Teller VR, frankly unfair, unkind, unnecessary, and underhanded, which abbreviates to VR FU, you, and you, which I thought was fairly cleverly found. The game takes you through more than 10 cruel magic tricks that Gearbox says will leave your loved ones screaming and you cackling maniacally. Now, Nathie, if I understand correctly, you already tried this game?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I didn't mention it until now, and yes, I tried it.
What platform?
So I played it on the Rift S, and I played it on the Quest as well. I played both versions. So this experience is a party title. You could compare it to Covert, because one person needs to have a browser open or something on their mobile phone. And there was one little demo that I can tell you about, is that, so I was in VR, I was wearing a costume, I was on a stage with one of those two magician comedy dudes, and
but the actual guys.
Yeah, one of those
Fucking
two.
hell.
Yeah,
You
it
met
was
Penn-
very well
Jesus.
made. Yeah, and I was wearing this funny costume where I had teeth on both, like here and here. I was like inside a mouth, basically, and then he was throwing me a bullet, or he was shooting a bullet actually, and I had to catch it with that mouth. But the funny part was I was in VR, but the person from Gearbox was not. But I had to give my controller to him, and he had to shoot at me in the end. So the controllers become an external thing. So
That's
you actually
interesting.
lend a controller to
that's
someone
really
else,
nice.
and that's how you play all kinds of stuff. So it's like Covert on Oculus Go, but now with a controller, and you can share it.
It sounds also from the description a little bit like it's like a party game.
It is.
Like
It
one
is a
that you
party
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's neat. I
Yeah,
like
it is.
That's awesome. No, like I really like. I can't think of another title that does that, where
Yeah.
you take player one's controllers and give them away,
Yeah.
and then they become an
And that's why
interaction point.
you need your phone or computer, because then you can see what you're pointing at. Because otherwise you would never know what you are shooting at. So you're kind of getting a sneak peek into this mixed reality camera, so you can also see what's going on.
That's
I know, right?
Did you like it? Did you have fun?
It was fun, yeah. And it wasn't just that. He also did some magic card tricks and stuff like that outside of. They were just trolling me with like tricks.
So I mean,
Super
I don't know if you
weird.
know these guys, but like these are like pieces of furniture. Penn and Teller are huge
Yeah.
names. So you met one of them?
No, well, in VR.
Oh, right. Okay, I thought you meant I thought they were there. I was like, fucking hey.
But I can tell you, it was so strange because at E3 they had Borderlands, okay?
Uh-huh.
Huge ass game, huge ass booth, and then this VR title they have been working on, small team, like somewhere outside of E3, like this weird ass ghost alleyway. And then I was waiting for my demo. Then Ben Lang came out from Road to VR. I said like, this is great, and then he just left. I'm like, okay, so let's find out. But it was fun. Yeah, it's just a very unique concept where you can just, especially on Quest, I think a Rift S or a Vive, or because I think they're gonna bring it out on every platform. It's not just Oculus stuff, also Vive. But I think it's gonna be easier with a Quest, of course, a standalone headset, to share your controller. So I think this is an awesome gem, and I hope it will get the advertisement it deserves.
Yeah.
Because I told you the story now, and now suddenly it's way more interesting.
Yeah.
Because you have to
definitely.
experience it and then share it with someone else.
That's cool.
Yeah, especially the sharing part is the thing that makes it
Yeah,
interesting.
I think so too. Yeah.
The power of the Quest is also like a little bit like how easy it is to show it to people, and if you have games like that in like a party, that's a great way of showing VR and how much fun it can be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so next bit of quick snooze is that Oculus has launched its official set of mixed reality capture tools for the Oculus Quest, and it is now allowing users to record high-quality footage mixed with actual real objects and people. I did a little bit of digging around to see like how this would actually work. Then my initial excitement like got a little bit tempered. Because what you need for this is, of course, you need a PC and a camera. So I expected that already. They need to meet the performance requirements of mixed reality capture, which is already quite high. But then you would also need an Oculus Rift or a Rift S next to your Quest, because you need to configure and perform the setup. After you've done that, then you can get rid of it. But once you need to like reset it up, then you need to have it again. So it's a bit weird. So you need an Oculus Rift or a Rift S to use or to set up your Oculus Quest for mixed reality capture.
What I don't understand is that they never, like, that's what HTC did, like the trackers, right? These pucks, they're super handy. They use it for mixed reality. They use it to get like things tracked. I don't know why Oculus never used one of those, you know, like some external trackers.
Yeah, no idea.
Way cheaper as well than buying a complete Rift for your Quest. Like you have a Quest because you didn't wanted to buy a Rift, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
But the whole limb tracking thing, like I'm surprised there hasn't been a real competitor, even third-party competitor to like to the original pucks, because they're kind of they're not only kind of big. They obviously use the HTC Vive system for tracking, and I would think it'd be interesting to see something that just tries a different way, for tracking a limb or whatever. Because I would think that people would start to integrate that if someone got it cheap enough, easy enough to kind of put on the body, even if it was like a gyro-based tracker and it wasn't super effective. The game could assume that, if it's on your feet, it's going to be below you unless it moves. And so, it doesn't have to be as accurate as your hands. I would have thought that someone would have done that already. Have you guys seen anything?
No, not that I know.
I don't know. Like most mixed reality videos.
Like, you have things that use like Connect as well, that they use it like that. And you can use that in combination with some mixed reality tools as well.
Well, there's MR tools that, and I think Live either published this or are going to shortly, where you don't need like a green screen and all that. Yeah, absolutely. I came really close to buying a V2 Connect for that reason, and they're not that expensive right now, although they'll become more rare.
But of course, like the quality of the camera is a little bit like I'm still waiting for like better 3D cameras to arrive in like a format like that for us to be using.
So in the chat we do have some requests for this link you have been talking about, so we will make sure it's in there after the show.
It's actually on the Oculus dev blog. It's actually on there, where they also give all the information on what kind of tools that you need. Because after you still need a couple of more things. So you need the PC, the camera, the Oculus Rift, or Rift S. You also need to use an app that supports mixed reality, of course, because not all games support mixed reality. This is only meant for Unity apps that are built on a certain version of the Oculus integration. So before you want to play your favorite game, it needs to be supported with that, and it's only Unity games or Unity apps.
The only other thing I'll mention, because I saw this land this week, there were actually controller and headset updates, firmware updates pushed by Oculus. I was so nervous clicking the update button. Like, it's just so nervous. It's like I've been hearing about people bricking various bits and pieces, and I'm like, okay. And I did it live as well, so that's a bad combination. So
I updated this week as well.
But like I would say, if anyone's looking to integrate tools like MR tools and stuff like that, before you do it, make sure your stuff is latest update. And Godspeed. Good luck to you.
What an ending.
Demotivating everyone to even try it.
Don't at me if it breaks your equipment, please.
All right, and then for the last bit of quick news, it's not VR, it's AR, because Harry Potter Wizards Unite got released. Now, Mike told us that he's off celebrating his birthday today, but I think we all well know that he's actually out with his wife playing Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Because he's actually the expert on this case. He put me on today, and I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. I'll tell you what the game is about, though. So it is the second game from Portkey Games. So you can expect a lot of strange and familiar magical occurrences, which could take the shape of anything from Harry Potter up to Fantastic Beasts. You can expect characters from the shows. You can expect magical creatures, artifacts. All the while you're traveling the wide world on your phone. So the story itself, it revolves around you working together with your friends to try and contain something called the Calamity. Got no idea what that means. And the things that you bump into are foundables. Got no idea what that means either.
I love it because I don't either.
It's all for like, hardcore fan. I mean, I've seen the movies, but I don't remember any of this kind of stuff.
Does it have Woggletrobs in there?
It probably does. It has a lot of stuff in there because I was just reading up on it, and there's a lot of like references to both of the movies. So you also can skill up as you go. You can, for example, also pick up ingredients while you're traveling through the world. You can make potions. You can cast spells. It seems like it is a lot more jam-packed with features than the Pokemon Go is. Because of course, if you release an AR game, the comparison with Pokemon Go is there.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. But from everything that I've read so far, it kind of blows it out of the water. It's apparently really, really good.
It's still based on map data, though, I think. So it's the kind of skeleton behind the game is similar.
Yeah, definitely. I found an article that said that just based on looks alone, Harry Potter Wizards Unite already runs circles around Pokemon Go. So the Harry Potter map is also much more busy, much more alive. You got owls and colorful paper airplanes that glide over the phone screen. You got clouds that are sliding by. There's a moon that rises in the evening. You got chimney smokes to indicate there's an inn that is replenishing its food supply. And also a very nice thing, I found that hilariously funny because I can already see Mike playing this in his car. So if you play in a car, please don't play and drive. But if you play in a car, then you fly over the road on a magic broomstick. So yeah, if Harry Potter is your kind of thing, I think we're playing the trailer as well.
So Rowdy,
it's free to install.
In the chat, Buck is asking if it also has lumps and woozles.
I don't know if those are real things, but if they're real Harry Potter things, then I'm sure that they'll have.
If you didn't know, Rowdy's a muggle. He just didn't realize yet.
Yeah. I don't need magic. I just punch people in the face.
What? I don't think Harry would approve.
Yeah, just watch out you don't confuse a Dementor with your mother-in-law while you're riding a hippogriff down the fruit and veg aisle of your local supermarket, right?
Oh my God, heffalumps and woozles.
Yeah, those are the only things I know, Dementors and hippogriffs.
Well,
I'm speechless. I know nothing about Harry Potter. I think I've tried.
I thought you were a little bit into this kind of stuff. So
I'm big into AR, I'm big into the AR games. I really liked the Walking Dead AR game. I even liked the AR game for Jurassic Park. It was pretty good for a time, where you're shooting darts at dinosaurs and stealing their DNA. That was kind of fun. But I mean, I'll try it. It can't be any worse than the Christian faith Pokemon Go equivalent, where you collect saints and you go around like punishing people for their sins. That was creepy.
Played that.
I did play that. I had it installed. It's now permanently in my my iOS store library. So there you go.
Wait, you paid for it as well?
No, it was free. Thank God. No.
Okay.
Literally. Thank God.
Also, Rowdy, heffalumps and woozles are from Winnie the Pooh, but just wanted to.
Oh, really? What are they then?
I love the epic trolling.
It's when he has his nightmare, those elephants with the honey and stuff. They play, and it's this weird ass trippy nightmare dream.
We need to have Winnie the Pooh in VR. That sounds amazing.
I grew up too quickly.
Winnie the Pooh in VR, yeah. Okay, that's another subject for another episode, I would say.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen we're getting a little bit off topic again, but have you ever seen like the real artistic renderings of Winnie the Pooh characters?
No.
You never watch Winnie the Pooh again after you see that.
Oh, okay. Man. Okay, you need to link this in the podcast description.
Poor Igor.
Yeah, please. I take it he got hit with the ugly stick a little bit.
Yeah.
Usually, Mike would now beat us up for going off topic, but
Mike is not here. We can do whatever the frick that we want to do.
Woo! Swing the tassels, ladies.
Nice. There we go. That's what I like.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's hand it over to Zim and find out what games we should be playing next week.
Or not.
Or not.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the beginning of this one is great. I'm just gonna fade into into showing you. You're gonna have to guess what this game is. I like making you guys work for it a little bit. So there's a game that launched on PC VR, is available for Quest and Index. Do either of you know the name? The tagline for our audio listeners that they're looking at on a static screen says, "I am dead. Who killed me?" And now we play the Jeopardy music. I
am dead. Who killed me?
Dun.
Wait, is this like an anagram or something?
No, it's not an anagram. This game, which I think is actually very much dovetailed to what we were talking about earlier, surprisingly, is called Tokyo Chronos, and it's 15 to 20 hours playtime. So that's the kind of headline. This is a VR mystery novel from the producer of Sword Art Online. It's apparently got an engrossing story with story duration, as I said, of about 20 hours. Over 5,000 lines of professionally voiced dialogue, multiple routes and multiple endings. And so as you're progressing through the story, you make decisions. And one of the things that it talks about, it says, where does the truth lie? To kill or not to kill? You decide.
This is a VR game.
This is a VR game.
Isn't this a comic kind of VR game where you constantly need to talk to characters while standing in their worlds?
So it's basically a kind of a 360 environment game, is the way I would put it. And Tokyo Chronos is an evolving. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure novel. Now, unfortunately, the trailer doesn't really show you any gameplay, which is kind of annoying. But I've seen some gameplay, and it looks decent enough. It's what you would expect. It's kind of, anime characters standing around you, and you've got full motion looking around, and you get to make decisions and decide based on what people are telling you. So there's a little bit of LA Noire kind of game mechanics in there.
Let's say I would definitely look it up. If you're interested in this, look up some gameplay, because I was like, I saw it, it's like, oh, okay, and then I watched, I was like, what the heck? This is not what I expected.
Exactly. I was also like 20 hours of, with 20 hours of gameplay, of 20 hours of voice recordings.
20 hours of gameplay, so story duration. Yeah.
Oh, dang, that's a lot, though.
But yeah, so that, I mean, like, this is something that, similar, having just played 11.11, right? This is something that I'm like, I need to try this. And it's not cheap. It's £29.99, so it's 30 quid. So it's not a cheap game, but it is out on Quest, on PC VR, and even on, now they're listing Index, of course, on the Steam store.
Index.
But
no Oculus Rift DK2 or DK1?
And this is available. No DK2 or 1. It is available since the 19th of June. So, and I think some platforms got it on the 20th, but we won't split hairs over this. But that seems really nifty. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's strange that we haven't heard anything of that one.
I saw it, but again, this is another one of those. Remember last time we were talking about the kind of Asian market getting shielded from marketing in the West, and I think this is one of those titles where it's a heavy hitter. We only get to hear a whisper of it, and it lands almost silently. So, there you go.
I think there's one person you made very excited, and that's Palmer Lucky himself.
Good. If I can get Palmer excited, then I've at least.
If he watches our show, then we're doing well.
All right, so next one. Now, some of you would have heard my tales before of VR room escapes. And this, although had become last year a little bit like the wave shooter, like everyone was making room escapes, and it's kind of like, all right, we've maybe had enough of these. There's one that has come out before, and I think we actually covered it on the show about a year ago when it landed. So I'm proud to announce that there is a sequel to Escape First. So it's Escape First 2. Which gets a little bit confusing in the name. Especially because it's got a 1 in the name. It's really, really funny. This is by On Skull Games. This landed on the 20th of June, so again, this is playable now. PC VR, and again, Index. I keep saying that. This is only 4 quid. It's a multiplayer escape room game with up to, you can have 6 players in it. And there's 2 main modes. So you can either work together to kind of solve the puzzles and escape. There's 3 independent rooms. So for £4, you're basically paying a quid a room, which is totally cheap. If anyone's done real room escapes, then this is quite inexpensive. Or you can play against each other in a versus mode, where you're all locked in kind of separate rooms, and you have the same puzzles to solve, and it's who gets out first. So that seems kind of cool as well.
It sounds like Saw.
It does sound like Saw. Oh my God, we need We need a Saw game.
No, we don't need that.
We go from freaking Winnie the Pooh to Saw. This is unbelievable.
This is so FReality.
We need
right
a
here.
mix of two, actually. Winnie the Pooh and Saw together.
Oh my god. I can just imagine like Winnie sitting there with hypodermic needles jetting out of his body and he's screaming in pain. Okay, thank you. If you've just tuned in, this is a happy, friendly family podcast.
We have actually a good comment from Nim Sony. He says like this game is escape again, but first, but first.
But anyway, so like I thought the game looked pretty good. I'll just give you a clip about one of the levels that you can expect to play in this. So the three levels are named Psycho Circus Continued, The Torture Chamber, and Behind the Scenes, which was really confusing as I was reading about the game because I'm like, behind the scenes, what? So is that like DLC? No, it's just the name of a level. So Psycho Circus says, because the first game was also 6 players. I haven't played it yet. And 3 levels. So this is like they're just doing another like content release under another title. The original one released the 10th of May last year. This launched 20th of June. So they're almost doing these once a year, which is pretty good cadence. And this is an example level. So you managed to escape the clown's quarters, but you are not yet free. Did you think it would be this easy to escape? The show must go on, and you are the exhibit. Think and act fast in order to escape the circus. We all know that clowns don't like other people touching their stuff.
Whoa. Touching their stuff? That's not wrong there. They shouldn't have wrote that.
Those are their words. The other game that I would just say that this reminds me of, having seen, and like if you want to do multiplayer room escape, there's another really good title, Haunting Hour, which is a 4-player game. Again, around about the $5 mark. So I think you're getting pretty good value there. So again, if you convince your friends in a quest night or 2 or whatever, and then they all get VR headsets and you want to go in something together, but you're all at home, different individual homes, or maybe internationally, you can play this stuff together. From afar.
Sounds fun.
There you go.
Killer clowns.
Killer clowns.
From outer space.
That didn't say that.
with Winnie the Pooh.
With Winnie the Pooh. And Saw-like intense scenes. And the insane clown posse.
Mike is going to listen this back. He's going to be like, what the heck? What the heck is going on here?
We need to make sure he never leaves.
We can finally be creative again. I'm sorry. Hello.
Yeah, it's not Mike breathing down our neck.
I can finally say what I always wanted to say, and that's what I just said.
Oh my God, lads, ladies, we have been under a tyrant for many a night. We're breaking free. We just want to break. Can we break into chorus here? Anyway, let's get on to the next one. This one is specifically for Mike because he's a big fan of this game. So Face Your Fears 2, which has been playable anyway on Quest for some time, has come to the Oculus home store. This is by Turtle Rock Studios, good, well-known development team. 21st it landed, and it's $14.99 in pounds. So this one is something that I'm sure you have been aware of, and it's been out there. The original Face Your Fear was actually quite an interesting title. And the weirdest thing about Face Your Fears 2, with such a big name, there's no bloody trailer for it. There's still just still images. And soak these still images in, lads and lassies, because they will haunt your nightmares. But I've played a bit of this actually this week, and I played one of the 2. I think it was the second one where you're going to this house it was kind of like Resident Evil, right? You go to this house as an investigative journalist, and bad things happen to you. You know, space
I
portal
think that's the one
opens
that
up.
I played.
I wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, the ghost one, like where doors, rooms open. The one thing that got me, and I'm just gonna say one thing. Rowdy will get it, and anyone who's played it will get it. I won't spoil it. I'll just say bedsheet. That fucking scared the hell out of me. I don't know why.
I don't think that's the one that I played.
Okay.
I think that's the one I might play.
You probably played the one with the shed then?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like what Mike was saying last time was he was saying they've released a mode now, so you can play it as just the segmented like the original Face Your Fears, just drop in and play the fears independently, or do the story mode where you wander about. And I can, now that I've kind of played it on the Rift S, I can totally see why people would want that. It's actually kind of what I would want as well. Just like just give me the fear thing. I just want to jump in for a couple of minutes. Do that, like high quality run. I don't really want to be meandering around the level.
Like old school Face Your Fears 1, basically.
Yeah, well, the thing is the wander around the level part, the atmospheric bit, I think they don't do quite as well. So it kind of feels like their first foray, and they need to do a little bit better in it, comparing to other, fearful scare titles. but the condensed kind of compartmentalized fear segments is something that they do, and I don't know of anyone else who does that as well. Maybe DK2 demos, that did that, but there isn't much of that anymore. So there you go.
Yeah,
15 quid for that. The last bit of news, well worth mentioning, and I saw someone in chat as well mention this, which I thought was this is one of my favorite Go games by Camouflage, which is called Republique VR. Originally was a mobile game, and it is coming, unfortunately, end of July. So this isn't releasing next week, but it's news that dropped this week, and I thought it was worth mentioning to keep your eye on. Particularly if you're an Oculus Go owner, go check this out. Really, really, really long gameplay. You play this character, this girl, and you're embodying like a hacker who's looking through a series of cameras, and you're interacting with parts in the game. It's very much like Metal Gear Solid in terms of the way it plays, and it's a long game. Republique is quite a long game. So they announced this is coming to Quest now. What I'm really interested in is, will it come with any kind of touch control support, or am I really just going to? Is it just going to be like a direct port? The price of it is apparently $10.99 in pounds. So given it's a relatively low price, I suspect we're looking at a port, but still maybe worthwhile for people who are kind of like, as we've heard, really clawing and itching for more content on Quest. Yeah. So not a bad filler if you're looking for one. Way longer than I was thinking. You get to the end of the first chapter, or the first episode as they call it, and there's 5 episodes, and you're like, oh, is that it? That the game's already over? I only played for 3 hours, and then you realize there's 4 more episodes to go. So it's really good. If you're into hackery stuff, then that one is one you can look out for in July. So nice. There you go. But the highlight of the kind of reel today, I think, is Tokyo Chronos. That's a really interesting one. And like what Rowdy said, I'm really curious to see more branching storylines in VR. That's something that I think developers need to play with more, because it's one of the things that you can do in VR very easily without taking the player out and taking them out of immersion. So back to you, Mr. Rowdy.
All right, cool.
For the rest of the show.
So let's jump into like the main topics for this show. Like first up, the HTC Vive Cosmos. In the past week, I'm sure that we've all seen the wonderful stream that HTC posted on their live stream on
with
Facebook.
Anticipation, right?
Yeah, we're all waiting for it to start.
Yeah.
They did show it. I'm not gonna lie,
yeah,
but they did it in a rather strange way. Presenting the headset on a slowly turning table, and no specs were announced whatsoever. I think in total, if you sped up the video, it was maybe 2 minutes worth of content, right? 2 minutes that was a table turning. That was it. We were actually showing it right now.
Was there any dramatic music with it? I didn't catch it.
No, there was like this trippy galaxy kind of music where it felt like you went to the moon or something.
Yeah. It was quite funny.
They got me hooked.
It up, it sounds like a ringtone.
They seriously got me hooked until the end. I was like, okay, wait. So you can't tell me this is it. There must be. And then this hand came and they start changing something. Like, well, come on. There must be someone taking it on its head, and then it's gonna tell us something. That's what I thought was going to happen. Yeah. Well, in the end, what we're showing you here is what they showed.
That's it. Hot news.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that we can lead off of this. First off, you can see now that the camera has 6 sensors instead of the previously shown 4. I'm assuming, this is all like assuming, but since they haven't said anything, I'm assuming that this will help with like making a bit of a wider field of view for the controllers, since I know that there's been some issues with like, close up or like, behind the back. So maybe with that kind of placement of the cameras, they have a little bit bigger field of view. Also, the faceplate is removable now, and it also contains 2 of these sensors, the up and the downward facing sensor, which is interesting because I don't really know how that would work. That means that the cameras are actually integrated in the faceplate itself, and this is interchangeable and perforated.
I don't know if you guys had the same reaction when I saw that. I thought one thing. It's like, ooh, guess what, guys? It's got one more camera. It's got another camera. We've got 6. They've got 5. Buy ours. I don't know. Is it needed? Is it going to help?
I thought 2 cameras already did well enough. But hey, if everyone wants to add more, be my guest.
What's the purpose of the removable faceplate? I don't understand. What does it do?
Well, that's what you're gonna hear next week.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like
again.
maybe they want to like offer like some color options or something, because I don't see any other point of
Color
like
options.
There were
options.
no USB ports in there as far as I know when I looked at the video. It sounds like, oh, is it kind of like what the Valve Index is, capable of? I don't know. I felt like after such a long wait after they, showed
hyped
up
it
at
up as well.
CES, because it was CES that the last time we heard about, also the first time, I think. Then you're like letting people wait for so long, and then you have the the guts to just troll everyone with this video. I don't know, they should have just gone bam straight for the specs. Also, this video would have been a great part of it, because now they postpone it to next week, and we all know next week what's gonna happen. So I don't know, maybe it's gonna take their news kind of out of the radar, because there's so much else going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And what surprised me though is that I thought this was going to be a hybrid. I thought this was going to be a headset.
People don't really know yet though, because
That's true.
There's quite some confusion around it as well, because I've seen some people saying on Twitter like, where does this device like fit? Like what is it? Is it like in between like the Vive Focus and the Vive Pro? Like,
yeah, because you see the cable and you're like, this must be a PC VR headset, right? So if that's the case, then we could say like this is a better version of the Vive. It looks lighter, that's for sure. But I really hope it's going to be a hybrid, because that would be a genre on itself that no one has really dipped their toes in.
I think that's the only market that they can actually make a real proper stab is a
And
hybrid.
the question is, for who is this headset still?
Yeah.
Like with HTC, you never know who it's for. They didn't say in the stream like, oh, it's for consumers, it's for prosumers, it's for B2B. We don't know. We have no idea of who it's for.
yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
I don't. What do you guys think of the look of it? I'm curious what you think. It's like,
I mean, I kind of like it though. I mean, I like the bluish tone just in general.
They stripped so much off. It looks so much lighter. So much lighter. I don't
know about that. There's a lot of light on there as well.
it seems like, particularly when they take the headset and they cock it to 90 degrees, because of the front facing visor being able to lock it up in the upright position. It's interesting. I mean, on the model that they're showing, which is a glass dummy head, it doesn't seem to shift around much. So it does look like what you're saying, Rowdy, is quite a bit lighter. Also, what we would normally see as like foam padding almost looks like that's potentially no, I take it back. I thought it was a plastic flange like the PSVR. It actually looks like the original Vive foam. Oh God.
It is.
Well, the rumors are that this might be like this headset might be able to power itself through a phone. That's what the rumors are and have been for a while. But since what HTC did at CES was like they showed it, but they didn't say much. That's their marketing campaign. They show it and let the internet go wild. And I think with this video, they were, aiming for the same thing again. Like let the internet just, spice it up a bit. But I don't know. It seems to be a weird moment to do this now. But we'll see. I don't like people. People are. Let's say there's one thing that I do want to say is that I've seen a lot of people throwing around with prices, stuff like that. If you expect this to be cheap, then I think you're going to be in the wrong ballpark. But that's also because HTC is a company who can't sell headsets with a loss. The Quest and the Rift S are cheap because Facebook can sell them for a cheaper price. But if they were getting sold for the actual legit price, then they would be as expensive as maybe a headset HTC would sell. That's all I'm gonna say. So prices at their place, they don't have that much freedom in that sense. But I do hope it's gonna be cheap. And on the other side,
there have been some rumors about the price, but HTC has confirmed these as incorrect. So as far as we know, there is nothing. What price would you put? Let's say that it is a hybrid headset. Yeah, let's say it's a hybrid headset. What price would you put on there for it to be competitive in the market now?
That's a good point. So not what is its price, but what where would its price point have to be? So if it's a hybrid, I think $599 would be a competitive price, because at the moment you'd need to have wireless plus wired, you'd be shelling 800 quid. If you follow the Oculus market. So I'd say £600 or dollars.
£600 or dollars.
Because we get shafted. Thanks, Brexit.
Yeah, it's a good one. I have no idea. As I said, it really depends on what market they go for. Vive Pro was super expensive, but the B2B business just bought it because there was no problem for them. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go for somewhere like $6.99. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's very mysterious. No one really knows what this is and what they should just clear up and go with it.
I also think that indeed to be competitive in the market now, they would have to aim for a price of $600.
And they're not going to hit it. Yeah,
but they can't go lower than they make. That's the problem with HTC. They can't do that.
That's the problem, because the other headsets are so fairly cheap. Huh? I mean, you just think of it, a hybrid that is basically a Rift S and an Oculus Quest both combined, right? So what is the price of the Rift S and the Oculus Quest both separately? So that is about $399 for each.
Yeah,
so that's
what I was saying.
$800. So then we'd have to look at a price point like that, I would say.
Yeah, but on the other side, we have been seeing so much news of HTC moving more and more away from consumers and getting more into the B2B market, and they are winning there a lot. So it could be that that this headset in the end is not made to be competing with any other. So it's I don't know.
It is a weird strategy to hype it up so much.
But that's what marketing wise, they always do that, and no one really knows what. This marketing could be great in Asia and it's fine. They advertise it and then here in Europe or the US it lands wrong. That's what happened with the Vive Pro. They promoted it as a gaming headset, as this super pro thing, but then in the end, it was for the B2B market. Well, in Asia, if you promote it in that way, you put Fallout in there and all these other games, then companies are like, wow, this is awesome. We got to get this. Over there, it makes total sense. But then, that's the thing, marketing-wise, HTC seems to not learn from it. So I hope that with this, finally, they know what to do.
I think that.
It's this conversation. No. How many times have I been saying this?
Yeah.
It feels like I'm the only one, because I've been in Asia, of course. I've been at HTC, so I understand now how this works. But I wish everyone else knew that sometimes their marketing strategy just totally ends up in the wrong way here in Europe and the US. And that's a shame. I wish they went a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Next week we get some specs, and maybe they also tell us who it's for. That's even more important than specs.
Well, you guys actually interested in this headset? Because at this point I've checked out. I've no interest in it.
Honestly, it's not. I'm always open to try another headset, but there are so many headsets coming out. I still care more about content. I'm if they bring out this Vive Cosmos, fine. If HTC wants to invest into some quality titles, then I'm even more interested. Okay, I'm interested in the companies who spend money on content.
Yeah, for me it's the same. Like another headset that allows you to do the same thing. It needs to bring something incredibly new to the table for me to say okay, I want this. Because this ups the experience. That this makes it so much better than it originally was. Then yes, but if the content doesn't support that, then what's the point?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we'll see next week.
Hopefully, maybe we'll get another turning table.
Yeah, the other way around.
Yeah. All right. The next topic is an interesting one. It's something that we have maybe briefly touched on before, but we haven't really dove into it yet. So I read an article in The Guardian that has actually questioned the ethics of virtual reality brutality. And they specifically highlight 2 VR artworks that were shown at Dark Mofo, interesting name, which is an arts festival. And the first one was from Jordan Wolfsons. Now, all of these artworks that are shown on these Dark Mofo festival, they're all a little bit on the edge. There's always things that you go oh yeah, okay, that's kind of weird. But this one is called, the first one is called Real Violence. And this is a 2-minute street scene in which the artist himself is rendered virtually, and he repeatedly stomps on and takes a baseball bat to the head of a defenseless man. People who sat in passing cars, they don't even turn their heads to look, and only you in your headset is looking at it, but you're not stepping in to help either. Now, the man that Wolfson beats to death, he doesn't exist, but by putting on the headset, we are complicit in deriving a thrill from it. That's basically what the artwork is. So it's by putting you in the headset, you become part of the artwork, and you're complicit in deriving a thrill from it because you want to see what it's about. It's like kind of like questioning a little bit like the human nature of things, that we have a way of always being interested in gruesome scenes and violence. This brings us back as well to like 2005 when Senator Hillary Clinton, she was a little bit waging a war on violent video games, and the entire history that we have on violence on video games, and it even went as far as proposing a bill that would criminalize selling violent games to children. Now, this is a hot debated topic, of course, so I'm trying to like center myself a little bit in between here, but at the center there's the question, of course, like does violent games also breed violent behavior? And with technology that allows these kind of experiences to become more and more realistic, what is then the impact of this on like behavior and psychology? So if you guys got like any input on that or any experience with that? We talked a little bit back about the app of like, you know, where you're being put in like the NGO kind of thing. Yeah. But this is like the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, one of the things I noticed when I was first in VR for a few times is if you're in a game, let's say a shooter, for instance, right? You got the gun in your hand and you're able to shoot people and that type of thing. It's really weird, but because you're immersed and you're like in that, like turning the gun on yourself for the first couple of times feels really odd, right? And this is kind of a sidestep, but related to your question, which is, you know, can violence in VR characterize or nullify, you know, your kind of the synapses that would otherwise say stop or no. Same thing like with driving. I was super nervous initially with the same thing. Was, you know, if I'm driving and I'm crashing into a wall, will I then go back, get into my real car, and some of the safety switches have been switched off? So I'm just wondering, it's really interesting seeing this clip that you've got. Where was this physically? Because this woman who's standing there with like gawking at this piece of art she's watched.
Well, also don't forget, these are people that have probably never been exposed to virtual reality at all. So I mean, it's a little bit like, you know, like they only show the clips of the people that are utterly shocked by it, because I'll go back to the one who wrote the article in a moment. But it was in the Tasmania Midwinter Arts Festival.
Tasmania.
Tasmania.
Tasmania, okay.
That reminds me of the Looney Tunes.
Exactly, we were back to...
But talking about your first VR experience, most people say like, hey, I jumped into a roller coaster, but this is like a total different level.
Yeah.
So what was your question in simple terms again, Rowdy? Because I don't think I answered you properly.
Yeah, so no, you answered it actually. What is the impact of this on behavior and psychology? And where do you position yourself in like the debate between what about violence in video games?
Yeah, well, obviously the term Gorn comes to mind, and several other, you know, games which are ultra brutal and ultra violent. And I guess it goes back to the question of, you know, do you think that a music album can cause you to think or act differently? Do you think that a video game on a flat monitor can cause you to act differently? And I mean, I think there's something to be said for normalization. So when you see something portrayed in a film, if you don't second guess it, you might just say, oh, that's normal social behavior, so I will go and do that. But do I ever think that, you know, someone who listens to Nirvana or, you know, plays Doom is going to cause them to go, you know, shoot up a school or something? I really don't think so. I'm very much of the mind, although I tend to kind of like dramatic games and music and film. I don't think that would ever motivate me in one, even an inch in that direction. Is there someone out there who could be? Maybe, but I don't think that banning all books makes sense because one book might give someone a kernel of an idea. I think you kind of have to be a little bit that way inclined, and then maybe it's one part of the puzzle. But I'm very biased on the let the medium shine as it is, and let people do whatever they want in VR because I take a lot of relaxation out of shooters, right? I'd never shoot a person. In fact, I personally went through a school shooting, and I never want to fire a gun. I'm not interested in that at all. But actually going on into Counter-Strike or as I said, Pavlov, having a round with some friends or whatever blows off some steam, and I feel a lot more sane coming out than I did going in sometimes. So that's my stance on it.
That's true. That's true. What about you, Nathie? What do you think?
I'm on the same page as Zim, to be honest. I think the only something that could lead to violence, game related, is maybe a game addiction. In that sense, or someone who's psycho is playing games to even glorify that idea even more of actually doing something in real life.
Or
but
training.
It's rare.
Yeah,
but it's so rare.
I think there's a point to be made. Of course, 99% of the people that ever play a violent game will never even consider doing something violent in real life. But it's always what about that 1%? I personally would. There needs to be some form of control over it. Of course, as a parent, you need to control these kind of things. I don't think it's for the state or for the government to be controlling these kind of things. I think it's more a part of education and a part of upbringing to do this. Would I ever let my children who are in a full development phase shoot people in the most brutal game? Probably not. If they reach a certain age that they can make decisions for themselves and their minds are developed enough to handle such a thing, I probably won't have a problem with it. Would I have someone who has is maybe diagnosed with a severe autistic disorder or severe schizophrenia or something like that? That is also something that needs to be, the mental history of a person, I think, is important when it comes to playing games. But then not only playing games, also watching movies, also reading books, also listening to music, because all of those could then indeed be triggers. But that's even way less than 1% that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But there is a certain barrier that needs to be put up by upbringing, by education, for people that are maybe sensitive to that. It's interesting that I dug in a little bit deeper. We have a philosophy professor, Thomas Metzinger, of the Johannes Gutenberg University, and he warned new scientists that fully immersive experiences have a bigger and more lasting impact on behavior and psychology. Which I think is a fair point. Both in a positive and in a negative way. And the thing that he indeed highlighted is something that you brought up a little bit already, Zim. It's including the depersonalization, that you become a little bit less attached to these kind of actions that you're doing. You don't, for example, if you put a gun to your head, which is a serious, mental disturbance thing to do, it is when you keep on doing that in VR, you kind of become a little bit whatever.
Yeah, and the only thing that I'll say on the other side of the fence is for the longest time, although I would ride roller coasters did I'd be quite fearful of them, I would say, or apprehensive before going on one. And I went to Oculus Connect 4, went on a whole bunch of them, and I was there were some bars flinging by, and I thought my legs were going to get cut off, but I was just taking it in because VR had helped me acclimate to it. So I really do think that there are some desensitization effects that VR can have over a prolonged period of time to train you either, actually, this isn't as dangerous, maybe this isn't as fear-inducing as it could be. I even think something like we talked about Face Your Fears. Having played on the Oculus Go, Face Your Fears, where the plane was going down, it almost challenges your internal bias to, am I going to get nervous during turbulence? And to an extent, you say to yourself okay, maybe I wasn't feeling so confident before. You go through the VR simulation, you come out and you're okay, now I'm feeling a little bit more. So the one place where I think that this could be used quite negatively, I think I was mentioning it there, was training. A lot of that's where I think there's maybe, it's just a new danger. It's a new threat. You're not going to be able to, by trend, even if Oculus are sniffing on all that data and feeding it to the government, as you said, right? And are we going to be able to trend identify the potential, terror fella or lady? Probably not.
Yeah.
And I think someone could use, someone could get very acclimated with guns, how they all fit together, how it all works, without actually having to purchase a weapon, which before was a barrier to actually getting good at that. And now you have digitization, which kind of works a bit against it, because now you've got the security problem.
It's like you say, like context is everything, of course, because indeed it is. VR is also being used as a useful therapeutic tool, not only in terms of exposure therapy, but also in terms of promoting empathy. There's a study that I remember, I think it was written last year, that where they tried to highlight domestic violence to the virtual shoes of the people that are experiencing it. And the results there were that offenders, they have a significantly lower ability to recognize fear in females compared to the general population. But often after they were embodied in a female victim, they were actually this was actually reduced, so they would actually be less inclined to have a lower ability to recognize fear.
Exactly, and that's where I think that the balance of this actually weighs very much in the favor of the positive spectrum. Is that like some of the benefits we were talking about earlier of this new medium is that you can feel empathy in a way that you wouldn't. I love that concept of like, put me in a woman's body and let me see what it's like to have people glaring at me on a bus or whatever, because no one's going to look at me, and my only chance of seeing that, is to put me in a different position and have people around me. And the ability to record it, to show people, is only going to get more and more real and convincing. And I think the hallmark effect of helping people, gain that kind of emotional momentum in the right direction is going to far outweigh the dangers that are potential in this medium.
The author himself, he was actually a bit unimpressed. So I think he was exposed to virtuality already a bit more, because he actually said, if I'm honest, when watching real violence, I was hoping to see the victim's eyeballs shoot out, but they did not. So he was rather unimpressed by this.
Okay.
Sorry, was that the author of the violent art piece?
Yeah. So the author who wrote the article on it, and not the one who made the application. And the second experience that was also there, this was the Paul McCarthy, not the Beatle, because I had to read this name 2 or 3 times. It's Paul McCarthy, the coach stage coach VR experiment, Mary and Eve. Very long title. And this is a sexual psychodrama with an American Western vibe. And this one goes way further. And the author, I'll quote him from here on, he describes the experience as follows. Before donning the headset, participants are asked if they're okay with scenes of child sex abuse.
Oh, God.
Mary is a young woman and Eve a young girl. The pair start to duplicate until the viewer is surrounded by them. At first, Eve is a target of Mary's malevolence, the kind of harassment that men might target a lone woman with. What's your name? Where are you from? Are you stupid? Fuck you, Eve. Then the pair turn on the viewer and begin to crowd in. She asks you a simple question, a simple fucking question. Answer the fucking question. Turning away from one looming figure reveals another face, close up behind. There is violence of a sort. Mary simulates the rape of Eve through their clothing, but more unnerving is the implied violence. In Wolfson's real violence, you are the observer. Here, the sense of threat is absorbed by you.
Really interesting. They turn the perspective around, and they use that to help teach you what, again, the victim feels like, and the kind of emotions that they go through. So,
yeah, indeed. I mean, much of this is, of course, still like uncharted territory. This is all so new that we don't really know what kind of psychological and the behavioral, consequences of this are. But as always with new technology, you kind of have to let it go a little bit free for it to like develop into something that is both good and bad.
Where was this one from again? Was this the same art showing?
Yeah, it's the same one. So Dark Mofo art
from was it Tasmania? Did you say?
Yeah, I believe so. Tasmania.
Jeez,
okay.
That's something else.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Jeez.
All right.
Wow.
And for the final topic, You still wanted to say something?
No, I was just gonna say that when Rowdy hosts, it's not lightweight. This is freaking heavy stuff. It's like this is some heavy hitting things.
He's going full in, man.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I like it. I like the fact that we're not only challenging ourselves when it comes to topics that we're talking about, but also that it's like the whole color of the rainbow. I always appreciate that. You don't ignore a segment of it, and this is a really important segment. So thanks for looking these up. I don't know how the heck you found that. That's from
Neither do I.
That's from the corner of the web.
know.
I need to go look at a map. Where the heck is Tasmania? I don't
Dark
even
web.
remember. I think it's in Europe.
The dark
somewhere.
mofo web.
The dark mofo web.
Yeah. So for our last topic of today, it's a rather short one, but it's the days of OC6. They have been announced, with it actually returning to the San Jose McEnery. I don't know if I pronounce it. Yep. McEnery Convention Center from the 25th up until the 26th of September. And interestingly, they specifically mentioned more information on the project that Respawn Entertainment is working on, which was originally announced at OC4. I think we touched upon that last episode as well, but it was indeed OC4 that it was announced. And with Respawn Entertainment, of course, being the developers behind Apex Legends and also Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I think this is quite exciting. So except it being a AAA first-person VR combat experience, we don't have any further information yet. So I hope that we still get something before OC6. But I very much doubt so.
Could it maybe be that same with Defector and Stormland? These titles have been, they've been cooking up those for ages because they wanted to release on the Oculus Rift S. Because 2 years ago at OC4, it was a total different playground.
Yeah.
Could very well be. I have no idea what they're doing, but if they've been working since OC4 on it, I can't imagine that they would release it on the Oculus Quest, right?
Well, let's say at E3 I did hear some stuff, but I can't tell you what it is. But it's gonna drop soon. I feel like.
I'm actually really keen because we haven't heard a lot from Oculus on AR.
There's one thing that I can say, and that is Respawn Entertainment was working on this game. They worked together with Oculus to make it happen, and then suddenly this whole Apex thing came around. But you still have this agreement going on, so it could be that they kind of had to slow down a little bit, and because Apex was around the corner. So that's maybe why it took so long, because they have been working on so many other titles too. But on the other side, you still have the agreements. You still have to deliver this VR game as well. I don't know how that works, but
I just hope that we get to see something from it now. Yeah. I really want to see something. I
still feel like it's gonna be a shooter though.
Yeah, they advertise it as a first-person VR combat experience.
Okay.
First person. It sounds a little bit mech-like, right? Like VR combat experience.
Oh, maybe a little bit of sprint factor in there, because they in Titanfall, because they made Titanfall as well, they nailed the wall running and the jetpacking. So maybe you're a mech, maybe you're a person who can jetpack around. I feel like they could really use those mechanics.
It's not a bad guess, Nathie, because one of the other things you do, like if you're going to propagate into VR with some existing IP, having a big name come in and dropping that can actually be quite impactful. So
yeah, I don't know if they're going to do an existing IP, because last Titanfall didn't do that well.
Titanfall
but
2.
I do think there are mechanics from the games they made in the past that they can really use to make.
I thought they already tweeted that it wasn't going to be Titanfall.
Did they?
I mean, I'm not a while ago, since people were saying, oh, it's going to be Titanfall in VR.
Yeah.
Don't hold me.
I've never seen Oculus spend money on a development studio and they make something for them with their famous IP. It was always something on itself.
I think that's more likely. Yeah. I'm also thinking in the direction of a Mac VR game, but then not with the caption of it having a Titanfall in there.
Huh. Interesting. So taking their existing mechanics, because I would love to land on an enemy. I mean, Vox Machina, for anyone who's wanting a mech game now, is bloody awesome, except for the annoying AI robot that gets in your face all the time. But I would welcome a mech game, particularly if it had that lovely mechanic of you're able to jump onto an enemy mech, and get the pilot out.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to copy anything they already made. It's going to be something from scratch,
new IP.
Something new. But it of course, I totally agree. A mech game maybe in combination where you can also have boots on the ground.
In the chat,
so-
they're saying that they mentioned a realistic military sim. So then I don't think it would be Max unless the US is doing something that we don't know anything about.
No, I'll tell you what I was thinking. Like when you guys were saying it there, although I don't follow their Twitter, the thing that I was hearing was like, wouldn't it be awesome if they had something like a VR milsim game, kind of like a Rainbow Six type thing, but with some kind of, forgive me for this, this is definitely masturbatory. AR pass through, like around something. Use something with your environment. Like I don't know, you got to grab ammo from your shelf or something. I don't know. It would be really neat to see some kind of crossover between VR and AR in existing headsets. I'd love to see it.
I'm sure it's gonna be a mix of genres they made games about before. Yeah. So if you kind of go back into their history, I do think you can find a lot of what it could potentially be. Yeah,
it's interesting you say that, Zim, because if you look at the Oculus blog post, they said something at the end as well, and they say, we can't wait to begin the next chapter of virtual and augmented reality with you in San Jose, September 25th, 26th. So as far as I know, Oculus has not really invested that much in the AR scene, right? So...
well, no, I think that's what was kind of setting Twitter alight, was people had said this when they were setting the dates. I'm really curious. I think they're going to drop something AR related because 2020, remember, we have the Apple, I think it's called the AT2020, which is meant to be an Apple headset primarily focused on AR, planning to drop in 2020 and supporting, I think it was, if not 8K per eye, 16K total, I think is the idea. So if that headset's still in the works and out there, then Oculus, who have that corner at the moment, will want to vie against their biggest competitor in the space. I mean, Apple's a huge player, and we have yet to see them play their hand.
Yeah, sure.
So,
all right.
Well, interesting.
I think that we've covered all of this week's news. If there are any questions still remaining, please drop them in the chat right now.
Well, there's still one juicy subject, actually.
Is there?
Oh, go on.
Yeah, it's Boneworks.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a bonus. Yeah, so this week, it doesn't feel like this week actually, but this week I was at Stress Level Zero, their office in Los Angeles. Brandon invited me over to try Boneworks with the Valve Index and the Index controllers, and it was definitely very interesting. I played one of the sandbox demos. He said, like, just go for it, do whatever you want to do. So I was just getting into my creative vibes. So the first thing I did was I grabbed a gun and started shooting all those like hand crabs. What are they? Like, I don't know. They look like mechanical head crabs, actually, not hand crabs. I'm getting into the crab vibe now.
Oh God, Mr. Crab has escaped.
Yes, exactly. No, but yeah. So it's hard to explain what Boneworks is. It's kind of mysterious. I feel like when it comes out, you just gotta play it and find out for yourself. But I was in his office, and honestly, the mechanics of Boneworks, they remind me of Gmod. Okay, yeah. They really do. They really do. And when I told Brandon, I said, like, hey, this kind of reminds me of Gmod. He didn't want to kind of give a green light on that, but I do feel like it was kind of in that, ballpark.
Sorry, when you say Gmod, Nathie, do you mean Gary's mod? Is that
Yeah, Gary's mod. Yeah, Gary's mod. Yeah. Because you, like, and this is not going to be a feature, but you could shoot the gun and spawn in all kinds of items, just like you would do in Gary's mod.
The dev mode. Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I could spawn in anything I wanted. So I spawned in the crowbar and all these other iconic items you saw, of course, in the trailer. And I can tell you that the first time you play with the Index controllers, you really have to get used to it, because when you want to grab something, it's not only you have to grab it physically with your hands, but you also have to hit the trigger while you're doing it. So it's like a combination of buttons and your hands. So first it was like super hard to do because I kept on dropping stuff and like super clumsy. But as well, I totally got into it, and I could slide that crowbar with my hands like up and down, and really like. And the weight in Boneworks of all these items, top notch. Like everything has its own weight to it, and it's super super realistic. But as I said, it was a sandbox, so I could just spawn in things, do whatever I wanted. Locomotion, super neat. When I I had like a physical body in the game, so like I had hands and stuff, and it looked super realistic. And when I actually started to go to the ground, like start crouching physically, but then also with my avatar in game, when I then jumped up, I could really use my own force to make a jump, if you know what I mean. So almost like a how do you call it when a car, hits a bump? It's like this
Speed
lever
bump.
or something. Like no, it's like what keeps the tires up and down. What is it in? I forgot
the suspension.
Suspension.
The spring.
Yeah, the spring. I felt like a spring where I was really pushing myself, and then I started jumping, and you could jump real high, but it felt so weird because, of course, you have more airtime in VR than you have in real life. So sometimes I was like, whoa, I'm already landing, but then in VR I still had to, do the thing. But it was just so satisfying to use my actual hands and see my fingers getting tracked, and being able to grab an item and throw it without losing my controller, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because, the index controls are like wrapped around your palms. So it's not like you're really holding it. They're kind of floating in a way. So I got to say, Boneworks, super fun. I'm sure we have some questions in the chat too. Like there's so much to talk about in terms of this game. The controllers, the index controllers, really, really cool. I think they're the next step for VR, how you interact. The headset itself, I thought it was good, okay? It didn't blow me completely away, but it's a good headset. The comfort was amazing, okay? Because it was really hugging the back of your head in a way I haven't felt before. The speakers were really shooting, like a head crab. They were really shooting into your ear. There were people around me talking to me of what I had to do, and I could not hear them at all. And they were just away from my ear. So you would think that someone talks, it would go in. I couldn't hear it. It was like this waterfall going into my ears, and there was no way something else could, go into my ears as well from the outside.
Interesting.
And we could talk about, I'm not really about specs. I'm more about the experience, but the resolution, fine. Field of view, it's good, and that's it. Headset is light, but the comfort was really stood out to me.
Big question here was Locomotion Method. So what was the Locomotion Method in Boneworks?
So as far as I know, it was... I think it was the thumbstick. The thumbstick, but I'm sure they're gonna add more different ones to it. But I did tell I told Brandon, I said, listen, what do you think about teleportation? He was like, we can't do that anymore. He's like, we really want to push VR to the next level with Boneworks as well and go for the best locomotion you can have at this very moment. So teleportation is out of the question. This is really for the adventurers, as I would say it. Yeah, but I would love to play the campaign of Boneworks. I also tried some really crazy things that will never make it to the final game because this was still, work in progress. I don't know when it's gonna come out. I hope it will come out when the Valve Index drops as well, because I do feel like it needs Boneworks in a way. Yeah. But yeah, awesome. Super cool to be able to play Boneworks, first of all.
What was their studio like? Was it bigger or smaller than you thought? How was the outside? I'm just curious.
No, it's like a proper game cave. It's like you recognize it from Node, of course. Yeah. Next to their office, there was Corridor Digital working on their projects. But they had a lot of space. They even had a corner where they had this old school, what Valve had back in the days when they tried the first headsets they made with these
the tracker stickers, the QR stickers. These sticks,
they had these stickers still on their walls too, and they were busy developing. They just launched Duck Season on PC. You can now play it on a monitor as well. But they were super busy working on Boneworks and stuff like that, and I was surprised that Brandon even said that he was watching my videos. I didn't know. So hopefully he's also going to listen to this podcast, because I do think they got something really good at their hands. And I'm happy we have also developers that are willing to take that extra step of we're going to go for, the edge for what's possible right now.
Something new.
Yeah. and not try to be like, oh yeah, but what if someone gets sick who just is new to VR? No, the Valve Index, as Valve also said, is for prosumers. It's not your first VR headset. This is really serious stuff, a serious toy, as I would say. So yeah, I think it's a badass move for sure. And I'm so curious what the storyline is going to be all about. I heard that if you finish the storyline of Boneworks, then you get access to the sandbox. And what I personally want to see is a multiplayer too, because let's imagine having like this Gary's Mod kind of vibe to it, and then be able to also make your own game modes. Because I feel like it's also an engine. It's also something you could maybe build your own stuff. I feel like they're gonna go into a level builder or something, and where you can just let your creativity go wild or something.
Could be a spawning pool as well. I mean, some of the best things came out of like the Source engine, for instance. Like so many mods became their own games.
Oh yeah.
Too many to list.
Yeah, but seriously, super solid stuff.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. If there are any questions to Nathie or for the other topics, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll still go over the show times real quickly. So this is a VR era MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or smash the like button, as it would really help us out.
Very good. We've got a couple of questions here. So people were asking as well, like, what frame rate did you play on the Index? Do you know?
I think it was just, like 90. It wasn't a new one, but I didn't notice a difference. So I think it was just 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any idea of how long the game or story campaign will be? How long that will be?
I have no idea. Maybe Stress Level 0 said something about that, but I have no idea.
Yeah, I've not seen any news about that just yet. Yeah. I don't see too much else. I mean, the last question, this is a horrible one for me to ask, but I will. Did it feel like a Half-Life game?
I don't think you want to compare it in that sense. It's unique on itself, I would say, and it does, like that. Of course, the crabs that jump at you kind of feel like. I don't know if we also seen this other enemy that I encountered. There was like this head that just jumped at me. It had no legs, had no hands. It just jumped at me like this head, and it's super disturbing. I don't know, super weird. But no, I don't really think it's just like that. It's something totally different. But I just want to say that, we were all super hyped about the Index controls, right? Or the Knuckles, as we first called them. And I think that after Valve suddenly added the headset to the package, this whole headset just got automatically hyped with its controllers. And I don't think that's the case. I think you should separate them, and they both have their pros and cons. I think the controllers are still what stands out the most. It wasn't the headset; it was definitely the controllers.
There is some awesome tech in the headset.
Of course,
the way that they're doing things. It's amazing.
No, it's a proper headset. It's one of those, like, this could be your new daily driver if you owned a Vive for a while. I think this is it's an expensive daily driver, but hey, it's awesome. And if you like to mod around, because it really feels like one that you can just fiddle around with. So you can just what headsets can you buy where there's a USB slot in the front and you can just build something? I mean, with the DK1 and the DK2, you could plug a USB in and do something. But nowadays, it feels like almost every headset is fading away those USBs. And the Valve Index is really telling you, like, listen, you can do whatever you want and be creative. And I think that's awesome. So I don't know, Valve Index has its own place in the VR industry, I would say. But those Knuckles, those Index controllers, I feel like if you tried those and you played some, because we don't know how many games there are going to be, but if there are enough developers that really nail what you can do with it, I think you don't want to go back to any other controllers. It feels more alive. As I said, I predicted this and now I tried it and it's confirmed. It's really like that. it's adding something new to it. It's not mind-blowing new, but it's super handy. You're like, hey, finally, my hands are kind of free. It's easier. It's lighter. It feels more alive, more immersive. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the only thing that I can imagine now is Harry wrapping his fingers around his broomstick.
Oh my God,
I'm gonna have to play that AR game now, which is gonna be like, I mean, I can imagine Rowdy trying to play it. Like, I'm in the same spot where I know not enough about Harry Potter, and I know Mike will like rip the piss out of me in the next episode when I try to pronounce all the names and things. But Snagglepuss, you just wait, I'm coming for you, or whatever the name is.
So that's kind of like my Valve Index adventure. But huge shout out to Brandon and Stress Level Zero for letting me try it. I really appreciate it.
Really awesome.
All right, cool. Then I think we're done for this week. I want to thank everyone for joining this rather special episode. Next week, everything should be back to normal. So hopefully you guys will tune in then as well.
Unless Mike ate too much birthday cake. But thanks for hosting, Rowdy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tune in next episode.
You better send me a big slice.
Yeah, cool stuff.
All right, cool. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.